Peace, peace, peace. Peace to the family. Peace, love, and light. What's good with y'all? Happy Saturday. Happy Sabbath for those who, honor and celebrate today as that day. Happy Sabbath. Happy Saturday. Right? Happy Strongin'. Peace. Peace to the family, y'all. What's good? Shalom, yes. Peace, Islam, shalom. And all other universal greetings, namaste. The whole gambit. Yeah, good day. That always works. That still works. Facts. Good day. Mommy Evangelist, I'm gonna definitely need you in the building because we about to have one of those conversations. It was needed and it was necessary. Islam, yes. Feliz de Sabido. Feliz de Sabido. Happy Saturday. Feliz de Sabido. We're going to have one of those conversations as well. Right? Yeah. I just got out the pool. I ain't putting no face thing on yet. Let me see if I got anything in my bag. Thank you. The hair looks amazing. I give y'all a little, preview. I twisted my afro up. I got it in, these are like some Holden braids. Yeah, Blue Dream says she's gonna give me the whole. Once I decide what I want to do with my hair. Album is coming. The single is coming. Single should be dropping early July. No, my bad. I'm lying. We're looking to have the single out around Juneteenth. My bad. With the video. Right around the same time the video drops. You know what I'm saying? We're coming out with the single. Nephilim will be the first single off of the album. A joint album between me and my brother Ray 360. It's going to be called Blu-ray. And this is my best work to date. You know what I'm saying? Hat details. We should have this on the site. CosmicDust.com. Yeah, shout out to all of the brothers and the sisters out there, the true locticians, the people that are dedicated. I don't know if I'm gonna get locked because I like to interchangeably go into my afro phase. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to permanently lock my hair up, and I can't, do my switch ups. Because if you haven't noticed by now, I like interchangeably being able to switch the hair. So I've been making these posts, and these posts have been centered around different political ideologies. I've been sharing my thoughts on politics. And one of the things that my grandfather always told me, peace to my brother Morris Chef, my grandfather had forewarned me. He said, stay out of religion and politics as best you can, right? That was his warning to me before he departed. And peace, brother. John Robinson Music, right? Shout out to John Robinson Music. I definitely wanted to make an announcement. John Robinson, I actually put on my polo today. This is a RL piece in honor of the fact that they have a low-life weekend out here this weekend, and I ran into a few notable brothers from my past from New York that are out here celebrating the Low Life Weekend. It's going to be in the West End Park, the same place that the Malcolm X Festival was at, 1111 Oak Street, I believe. And them brothers and them sisters will be gathering over the next 2 days, honoring a legacy that is tethered to our upbringing in New York City. I guess if you're not from the town, you really don't understand our fascination with Ralph Lauren clothing, or polo for that matter. And that's a beautiful way to juxtapose this conversation. So Ralph Lipstick is an individual that you guys know as Ralph Lauren. He is a an ethnic Jew who immigrated from Eastern Europe, at least his family did, and they moved to the Bronx, New York. The story of Ralph Lipstick is the same story of Eastern European immigrants that came to this country initially in the early 1900s. Yes, Ralph Lipstick is Ralph Lauren, right? Ralph Lipstick got into the business of ultimately making polo. He started with ties. And the way that he broke in is he figured out how to finesse Bloomingdale's sales catalog. But he didn't come in with suits. He didn't come in with shirts. He didn't come in with none of that stuff first. He came in with ties. And there was an opening that he figured out how to get in with the tie business. And then he started learning the sales advertising business. And then he figured that you can put shirts with ties. You could put cufflinks with ties. You could put suit jackets with ties. And that's how the birth of Polo Ralph Lauren happened. It was from an ethnic European Jew named Ralph Lipstick from the Bronx, New York, who was a tailor, who figured out a play. His story was the same story as the early Eastern European Jews who came to the Americas in the early 1900s, and they ended up creating what's considered to be Nickelodeons. Nickelodeons were, just like they sound, they were nickels, right? You would be able to go to the theater at that time was moving pictures, meaning that you would line pictures up like this, and they would spin them, right? And then you would pay a nickel to go and see it. That was called Nickelodeons. So the Eastern European Jews initially were buying Nickelodeons, and what they went and did, they had bought all old vaudeville theaters, made them Nickelodeon theaters, and then they were smart enough to buy out seats for the theaters, right? This is how they initially made Hollywood. They leveled up by buying into these theaters and buying the seats for the theaters, and people that were paying for the seats ultimately ended up paying for those theaters to become refurbished. And the next thing you know, there was major theaters, and then those silent films, right, now became actual films. But of course, we know that the initial films that they were doing with Al Johnson and them, they were doing blackface films. It was an iteration of blackface, or what you call, vaudeville. And ethnic Jews did it, Eastern Europeans, right? They put on blackface, and this is how they started what you call as, quote-unquote, Hollywood. Now, the way that I juxtapose those stories about the initial founders, and you guys know the names of the initial founders of Hollywood. These would be your Samuel Goldsteins. These would be, MGM, right? Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Yeah, all them guys, right? All of the famous guys that initially came in. Eastern European ethnic Jews that initially came into the Americas, they were not part of highbrow society. So highbrow society of Jewry would be the aristocratic Jews. These was your Germans, right? These were the upper crust and upper brow ones that were part of high society. They were part of high society in Europe, and because European society is very feudal, still in its nature, you're born into your caste for the most part. There's really not a lot of upward mobility over there. That's why they all came over here, and I'm gonna show and prove that to you. So, and this is not today. This ain't one of those conversations. I just wanna educate. I just wanna get into discourse, all right, so we can lead into political discourse and have a responsible conversation. Because if I'm not having a responsible conversation with you, then I'm not being in service. I'm not doing what my mandate is. And I'm attempting as best I can to leave whatever my personal beliefs or emotions are. And I'm sticking to what I know. You know what I'm saying? And I know that as an educator, I can educate. So the same way that early Hollywood, right, encapsulated the idea of what's considered to be Americana, they packaged, created, and sold what we know today as the American dream. That was the contribution that the initial Eastern Europeans made. Just same way when they got to Hollywood, they changed their names. Why? Because they wanted to assimilate into society. Why? Because society looked down on them. right? And not only did they look down on them, but again, this concept, this collective concept that we have about race was a recently created construct in the late 1800s. So even Eastern Europeans weren't considered to be white. Irish did not become white until the early 1900s, specifically after 1909. It was a riot in New York that was caused, it was called a draft riot. They were going to send, and maybe my dates is off, about the early 1900s. When was the Civil War? Right? When was the Civil War? Well, they were going to send Europeans to fight, right, for melanated people during the Civil War. The Irish rioted in New York, and they started busting melanated people's heads. They show you this in a movie called Gangs of New York towards the end. The fact that the Irish turned up on, because at that time the Irish was considered to be, they called them niggers, right? When they seen the Irish turn up on the melanated people, right, then they started absorbing them into the caste system known as white, right? And then they brought them in. It's like, oh, y'all one of us now. Y'all turned up on the Negro, on the niggers, right? Bust their heads, wild them up. And then they gave them civil service jobs. So they became the firefighters, they became the police, right? And everything else. And they assimilated them into their society. So early Hollywood, right, becomes a mechanism where the integrated quote unquote Jew, the Eastern European, the low society Eastern European Jew can find himself on par with the high society Eastern European Jew, and he creates the American dream, and is based on his concept of Americana. So when Ralph Lipstick comes along, or who you guys know as Ralph Lauren, right, he now creates, okay, his concept of Americana, and Polo gets born out of that. So every iteration of Polo, all of the different designs, is Ralph Lauren or Ralph Lipstick's idealism of Americana, different aspects of it. The country aspect of it becomes RL, right? The outdoor aspects of it becomes Polo Sportsman. The indigenous aspects of it becomes Aztec and Indian prints. Okay? The preppy aspect of it becomes teddy bears, polo crests, varsity, red, black label, purple label, you name it, right? And, just the whole country club aesthetic with the equestrians and the polo, this, that, or other. Everything that he refracted back to society based on fashion was him paying homage to different aspects of what you consider to be Americana. Yeah, I don't know. You said Polo Club. We ain't talking about Beverly Hills Polo Club and none of that other polo association. We talking Ralph Lauren, Blue Label, polo shit. I guess you had to be from New York. Trust me, it gets real funky. Real funky. Yeah, don't ever show up in no Beverly Club Polo. It will get violent. These niggas is, look, I can't explain it, right? When we grew up, the modus operandi for people telling you that you're not cool was they would stab you with an ice pick, hit you in the head with a hammer, or cut you across your face with a razor, right? And as crazy as that sounds, that was just the reality of us growing up. And, when I put the post up yesterday about people being able to punch things in the street and that being therapeutic, and they're like, how animalistic is that? How animalistic is cutting somebody in the face with a razor just because you don't like how they look? How animalistic is hitting somebody in the head with a hammer because, you feel me, they might be on the other side of the, they might be from the wrong block. So let's not minimize, solutions. This is a solution that works. It's a late solution, but it's a solution nonetheless. Yes, polo assassin would get you assassinated. You would end up real bad. There was no pump faking allowed. You can't come outside, and there's no such thing as fake polo. Or at least it wasn't when we was growing up. So I segue to say all that to say, this concept of Americana that we hear about, you feel me? It's a real concept and it's a made-up concept as well. Just like the American dream, it was created by ethnic Jews that came from Eastern Europe, and they created Hollywood. So there was a concept that they created, and that concept was the American dream. Nobody asked them to create it. They didn't have a template to create it. They just created it. Okay? There's so much that we need to learn about life, about the way things were done and why they were done and how they were done in order for us to understand politics going forward. And I'm getting a lot of people attempting to school me into political education because of the perceived stance that they think that I have when it comes to politics. And my perceived stance with politics is that you just need to be politically astute. If you're telling me what my political ideology should be, and I ask you one or two questions just to see if you know anything about politics and you don't, why should I be tethered to listen to whatever your concepts are? Because this shit is vast. You know what I mean? And it's not about who I'm voting for, right? It's about I vote according to my political interests. So what candidate represents my political interests? I'm not pro-Zionist. So all candidates, not just the two, unfortunately, all candidates have to kiss the ring of the Zionist lobbyists. So if I'm appalled at what I'm seeing going on in Palestine right now, and I'm saying that every politician has to tell me what their political ideology is first and foremost before I cast a vote, then this is required for a politician to come forward and explain themselves to say, yeah, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. And the majority of them can't necessarily duck it, but if they can't hold true to their promise now, let alone when they get reelected or elected into office, then why should we even be sitting around thinking that they're telling, an iota of the truth? They don't believe themselves because they cannot push the needle past the Zionists. They cannot defy the Zionists because the Zionists are paying everybody's bills. And that's what politics comes down to, the bills. But it's even deeper than that, right? Because you're looking at two different warring factions right now. And this shit gets deep. It gets deep, right? And I was recently introduced to a document, and I thoroughly researched the document, and I walked away, and I was kind of like blown, like, whoa. I had not even understood it from this particular angle. And this is a globalist angle. And it's like there are two factions in this world that are vying for control, and we're stuck in the middle. And we're totally lost when it comes to the depths of what's taking place. So you have the theologists versus the theosophists. Theology versus theosophy. Does anybody know who the theosophists are? Right? So I'll give you an idea of what theosophy is. You feel me? This is theosophy. Okay, Theosophy comes under the vein of Madame Blavatsky. All right, you guys love talking about the Illuminati. You love talking about things that we don't really have a firm grasp on, especially when it comes to what is the ideology of these particular entities or these clubs that we keep talking about, or we throw these names out, but do we understand who they are and what they represent? Okay? So Theosophy, right? Let's get into the definition real quick of what is Theosophy. Okay? And you're going to ask yourself at this end of the conversation, are you more of a theosophical person or more of a theological person? Because this is what we are caught up in right now. This is what we're a captive audience bearing witness to. Theosophy versus theology. Right? God damn it. Whoever's responsible for these goddamn chemtrails, though, that's the enemy. Anyway, so any of a number of philosophies maintaining that the knowledge of God may be achieved through spiritual ecstasy, direct intuition, or special individual relations, especially the movement founded in 1875 as the Theosophical Society by Helena Blavatsky, right? And Henry Steele Olcott. Okay, so this is Theosophy, all right? This is Theosophy. Okay, this is deism. We'll get back to deism, right? Let's clear the board first on Theosophy before we get into deism. All right? This is Theosophy. The entire United Nations agenda that's being operated and run right now is a theosophical one, not a theological one. So it's very interesting that when we see the theological sect, right? And the theological sect is the theological sect, right? Those are the Abrahamic religions, right? And the theological sects are the people who are tethered to either one of the biblical texts that speak about revelations, to speak about, what the ending of the, all of that stuff that they're getting into. So the evangelical Christians that are now getting with the Zionists, right, because they both have ambitions to bring about a messianic force, right, or bring about biblical scripture, the fulfillment of scripture, that is the theological approach, right? So the theologians are coming to the UN to get all of these different mandates and these cosigns, and they're finding pushback, right? Because the Theosophical Society, they're more so, they're like, we're spiritualists. The Theological Society are more like, we're religion-based. And those people are clashing in the background. And we're held captive in the middle, right? And, and we're going through our macro battles like this in our society, where the conscious / woke people are like, well, we're spiritual. Whereas the people who are religious and are tethered to, traditionalism, they're saying, no, we're more religious. We're dealing with these particular mandates, right? We're traditionalists in the sense that this is what our folks dealt with. This is what we're dealing with. And then, again, a lot of people are getting caught up in the sway of religion to adhere to Christian nationalist principles without knowing that they are adhering to Christian nationalist principles, right? They're toting the same line. Whereas as a people, once again, stuck in the middle, do we know what our ideals are? Because I ask melanated people all the time, are you naturally more conservative or are you progressive as a people, right? Are you naturally more conservative or are you progressive as a people? Our people technically, right? We always used to vote Republican. We are as of lately, we become the class of the Democrats, but, historically, we have been the class of the Republicans because of their conservative nature, right? This is kind of like how we always used to vote. You feel me? Our ideals were more so in alignment with what you would consider to be a Republican ideology. This was before things started getting real mixy. And when did things get mixy? Things got mixy in the 1960s when JFK dies, right? JFK dies. They bring in LBJ. LBJ passes the Civil Rights Act, and he also brings in Great Society, right? And then what happens with that is that the Republicans go to their convention. They're supposed to elect the Rockefeller dude, but who do they elect? They elect Barry Goldwater, right? Shout out to Goldwater, okay? They elect Barry Goldwater out of Arizona. Barry Goldwater is a super segregationalist, And immediately they start, getting into politics, right? And they start beating down on the Democrats. And this is what they start calling socialism or a welfare state, because they're giving concessions and hands out to melanated people. And then that is the battle. That's the battle. The 60s changed everything, and we're still living under those particular repercussions of what happened in the 60s, right? The era of the assassinations changed everything. When they got rid of MLK and when they got rid of JFK, nothing has been the same since. And no disrespect to Malcolm. Malcolm's assassination created a vacuum. You feel me? But in terms of politics, in terms of international sway of politics, the vacuum that was created by these two assassinations has never been filled, right? And the politics that have came out of the sacrifice of MLK, again, that's the politics that all of us as melanated people enjoy today. And if you are so adverse to that, where's your political party and your political platform to say we're going to transform everything to go back to a particular way? Show me the way. Where is your politics? What does it look like? Fuck your ideology. Where's the politics? And what candidate best fits those particular political ambitions that you have to go back to X, Y, or Z? Because y'all stay fucking crying and complaining about the concessions, but where is the alternative? What does it even look like? What does it sound like? I have never been introduced to it in my life. But they stay talking about, they sold us out and we're in a burning house. You real fucking comfortable in a burning house for it to be burning, my nigga. You done put that fire out a long time ago, and you put some linoleum over charred furniture, and your ass been sitting there riding that bench ever since, and pointing fingers every time a MLK anniversary come around, and you besmirch his sacrifice by talking crazy about him. But then you're a recipient of all of the programs to this day, and now they're peeling all of them shits back, and then nobody's fighting. Well, what do you want to fight for? What's gonna get you to get the fuck up and fight? What's gonna get you to get up and fight other than a Trump presidency or denial of a Trump presidency? What's gonna compel you to get up and do anything at this point? And I'm asking for a friend. You feel me? What's going to get you to get up and do anything? Because we just do not seem to know what's going on. Political-wise, agenda-wise, this is a global agenda. The theosophical versus the theological war that's taking place, it's a global agenda. And it's being fought by people who have picked up your identity that you've abandoned a long time ago, attempting to be somebody else and something else that you're not. But then we want to fight about the things that we think that we are. But what are we? Either you know what you are or you don't. Because the belief ain't going to cut it. The belief ain't going to cut it. Like, where do your politics lie? What are your political interests? What do we want to see as a people happen for us and to us? Because those are the only things that's going to signal how your vote should look. If that's what you do. You feel me? People are like breaking their neck and vying to vote on November the 5th and not even understanding what the goddamn day represents. Like, none of y'all seen V for Vendetta? And you don't see that they're setting up the vendetta for it to be a V for Vendetta? You don't see that? You don't see the vendetta that's being set up for it to be a V for Vendetta? But we all just are like willingly walking into this shit. And we don't even see the play a mile away. And they're showing you. We're going to have a viewing party, right? Because I'm not going to be accusatory. I want to help, right? And I want to answer these questions for my damn self because I want to be of service. I want to be the best servant that I can to my community. So it's like, let's have the viewing party and then let's discuss. right? Let's have the viewing party, then let's discuss, right? You just can't walk into beef and vendetta. This will also serve as the, somebody help me with my numbers, what is it, the second or the third year anniversary of the Astroworld massacre, which was a Hellenistic ritual. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. I seen them entities jumping in and out of people. Remember the Astro World where 10 people died? That was on November the 5th. I believe it was 2022. I believe it was 2022. So they already made the sacrifice. They already put people into the motherfucking oven for the offerings. For that. Because that date ripples. Right? And last year on that date, that's when the Houston Astros won the goddamn World Series. So, you know, what, how does these things coincide? Like, we don't understand pockets of times. We don't understand what these windows of time mean. We're totally, like, uneducated when it comes to patterns and symbols and the shit that we supposed to know, because it's the shit that our ancestors knew with their eyes closed. So let me get into this. The Christian nationalist edge, right, is that they want to create a theocracy. This is where the theologians versus the Theosophical Society play comes in. The UN is all about Theosophy, which makes it a conundrum that they're the ones that are voting on theological ambitions of the Zionist state and the evangelical Christians who support them, right? Where they have an entity that's sitting right in the city, right in Empire State, that is their enemies. They're enemies. Because they both they have very separate agendas, right? And they're both contingent on one another. And they're going to go to war, and we're going to get caught up in the middle if we don't know what's going on. Because they are clapping at each other. And you don't see it because the news ain't going to report it like this. So let's talk about what the Christian nationalists say. We want to make America great again and return it back to the way in which our forefathers intended it to be. No one ever comes and gives you the education about the forefathers and tells you that these forefathers were not Christians. They were not only Masons, they were something called deists. So what is a Christian deist? Let's look at the definition of deism, right? And again, this is not a theory. This ain't what I fucking think. It's what I know. Right? Do the goddamn research. It's accessible. The earliest found usage of the term Christian deism in print in English is in 1736 in a book by Thomas Morgan, appearing about 10 times by 1800. The term Christian deist is found as early as 1722. All right, let's look at the definition first of Christian deism before we get into X, Y, and Z. Deism is a theological belief system that originated in England in the 17th century as a rejection of Orthodox Christianity. Deists believe in God's existence based on reason and natural theology rather than revelation or religious authority. They believe that God created the world and set natural laws in place to govern it, and that God does not intervene in the universe after creation. Deists also reject miracles and consider biblical references to them to be myths. Right? This is what the forefathers believed. They're lying to you to your face if they tell you anything different. Right? Christian deism. Christian deism is a standpoint in the religion stemming from Christianity and deism. It refers to deists who believe in the moral teachings but not the divinity of Jesus. Corbett cite John Adams and Thomas Jefferson's as exemplars. So the people who wrote the goddamn Declaration of Independence and all of the other stuff that was the founding principles of this country were deists. They were Christian deists. They believed in what's considered to be animism, or the natural state of things, right? The fact that there's animated life in nature, and they do not believe in Jesus as a quote-unquote savior or a divinity figure, right? Hence the fact that you always see George Washington positioned as God in the iconography that they present him as. Not only was he a worshipful master and a master mason, These were Christian deists. You need to familiarize yourself with who these people are, what these systems mean, and the whole education. Because motherfuckers be running around here like talking crazy and don't know nothing about nothing. And then this is where the confusion comes in. There's no need for a debate. You know what I'm saying? But this is where the confusion comes in, that you be around dumb niggas and they swear they deep. And you be like, son, just chill. You feel me? We can achieve more by dialoguing. Like, let me help you out so you don't sound crazy. And then they insist on sounding crazy. So you be like, all right, you're going to have to just sound crazy then. I tried with you niggas. So deism, right, is what so how can evangelical Christians return this country back to a Christian theological country, or what they call a theocracy, if it was never meant to be that? It was never meant to be that. Possibly the most famed person to hold this position was Thomas Jefferson, who praised nature's God in the Declaration of Independence and edited the Jefferson Bible, a Bible with all references to revelations and other miraculous interventions from a deity cut out. Okay? So, yeah. And, you know, they're going to talk about Jefferson and Sally. Look, you niggas is Americans, in and out. Stop talking about your founding fathers and start understanding them. Because you're American. You're nothing but that. Until you're not that no more. You owe it to yourself to at least do some research, man, and figure out the shit that you are involved in, especially if you niggas is telling me I need to vote. Right? You need a little bit of American history, my nigga. You need to know what you're talking about. You need to know the country that you live in, that you pledge allegiance to. Because you all belong to the biggest religion on the planet, which is called Americanism. Whether you want to believe it or not. Whether you want to believe it or not. So, yeah, you damn right you love America. And I dare you niggas to say any different. Christian deists see no paradox in adopting the values and ideals espoused by Jesus without believing he was God. I guess that I'm a deist too. I'm a deist. Because I don't buy into that shit. Pope Pablo does not condone that. And we dismiss it every Sunday. And we explain to you why. Without being accusatory. We walk you through it. It's impossible. Without providing examples or citations, one author maintains a number of influential 17th and 18th century thinkers claimed for themselves the title of Christian deists because they accepted both the Christian religion based on revelation and deistic religion based on natural reason. This deistic religion was consistent with Christianity, but independent of any revealed authority. Nah, I know that was Paul. Paul did that. He baked all of that shit into the Bible. You know what I'm saying? For his own metaphysical occult reasons. Y'all need to do some research. You really, really need to do some research. You feel me? But back to politics, you know, because this brings us down the political avenue where we're able to, you know, reassess what our ideas are. So, the Zionist state is able to play games with the U.S. because they're paying all of their bills, right? Politics comes down to political contributions. If the purse strings ain't open, there's nothing moving in politics, point blank, period, because everything has to be paid for. And all politicians are for sale, and they let you know this. This is not a secret. Everybody knows this. But we keep talking politics about voting. My nigga, you vote with your dollars. Okay? You vote with your dollars. Because as we learned with Obama and as we learned with Biden, you got a whole vote, right? You're voting with no concessions whatsoever because you cannot even get them to honor, right? You cannot even get them to honor their promises to you because you don't have a lobby, right? And your lobby's not more powerful than other people's lobby that's going to come across and say, you know what, we shutting that shit down. Case in point, their lobby called AIPAC, right? They're spending $30 million to get rid of a man named Jamal Bowman, who's a melanated congressman out of New York, right? Who represents the districts of the Upper Bronx going up into Westchester. He's a melanated congressman out of New York City representing the city and the upper borough, which is Westchester County. And they're trying to brand him as an anti-Shemite because he has a pro-Palestine policy, and he's telling them that them people is engaging in genocidal acts and things need to be stopped. The top tier person in Congress, the number one Jew in Congress, is a congressman out of Brooklyn, out of our district where I live, named Charles Schumer. He's a senator, the most senior in Congress. He had the nerve to tell his own countrymen that they needed to hold national elections because the majority of their country don't fuck with Netanyahu. He's a criminal, right? And they all know it. Convicted criminal on like some Trump shit, right? He told them, look, y'all gotta hold elections, right? This is what the people want. This is democracy, all that stupid shit. They're about to take this dude's head off, right? For suggesting something that the rest of the world already knows. So it's like these dudes have a bully pulpit that is unreal, right? Somebody asking it, look, they conclude Netanyahu is likely to defy U.S. Congress CIA assessment, my bad, right? This is what it says. CIA assessment concludes Netanyahu is likely to defy U.S. pressure to set a post-war plan post-Gaza, okay? So the U.S. is still sending billions of dollars in bombs to the Zionist state, and Joe, for his campaign, is telling them, look, guys, you're making me look bad. Y'all got to give us a post-plan. Once y'all decimate Hamas, what's your plans for Gaza? They're not giving them no plan, and they're still sending the money, right? They like, nigga, shut up, just send me the money. Y'all fucked up already and spoke about us in a way that we didn't like. Now we not listening to y'all, and we really gonna show you who the boss is. And they got Biden shaking in his boots, right? Because he got to make good when he gets in front of niggers to make it seem like he's pro-Palestine, or he hears the sentiments of melanated people who have concerns based on polling that they're not pro-war, dealing with Zionists, right? So he got to come in front of y'all and play the part, but then he got to go in front of them to get the bag, and they treated him like a hoe because politicians are hoes, right? So he's in a conundrum, and the Zionists no longer care because they're moving and operating like a rogue state. So here they came out openly and said, Dad, what's the solution for Gaza? What is the solution for this very complicated issue? And this guy right here, who's Ben Gazzar, who is really the operations or the brains behind the operations of the genocide, these are the ultra Zionists, right? They don't care. They don't give two shits. They've been waiting for this opportunity their entire life to snatch Gaza. And they got Netanyahu on the string like a puppet, right? All of these dudes are being manipulated based on their political ambitions to stay in office. From the Zionists to Biden to Trump. Everybody's for sale. And everybody's being holed out, right? Because of the sale of their whole. You feel me? Only way we can solve the problem of Gaza. So he says that they're not leaving Gaza. They're going to establish settlement and they're going to displace Palestinians. And he's being upfront with it. And again, this is why media and politics is so important. Because they could tell you anything on TV, right? Because they don't, the reporting over here is just shoddy. It's just shitty. But go to Twitter, go to X, go to these people, I read Jewish newspapers. I read the shit that comes out of Israel. I don't go to this press to read what the hell is going on. I go to their press. And they be telling you everything that they're going to do. And then they do it. And then they be over here in this press lying about, oh, we don't know what the plans are. Nigga, why you don't pick the paper up? You don't got a link like I do? Because all this shit is accessible information. None of it is hidden. It's hidden from y'all. You feel me? So, again, there's an inner war going on with the UN and the globalists. Because the UN is based on Theosophy, and the globalists, right? At least the ones who you guys know about, they're based on theology, right? They have theological urgings. At least they're utilizing those theological urgings to hide behind global domination, where they want to change the globe into a theocracy, whereas the theosophists want to change the world into one religion, which is Theosophy. Okay? And they're both banging on one another. That's why the theologians are defying the UN when they make mandates. They're like, we're not listening to the Theosophists when they tell us X, Y, and Z. That's why the Zionists are murdering the Theosophists. They're at war with them right now. That's why they're defying the quote-unquote courts and everything, international-wise. Because they're like, oh, those are being controlled by Theosophists, right? In the same way that they would say, oh, the protocols of Zion, oh, those are fake. That's not a real, it's not a real protocol. It's not a real agenda. It's like, okay, you could say that, but look how they operate according to it. You feel me? Look how they operate according to it. So there's documents same way that are literal, right? They're not theoretical and they're not conspiratorial. These are actual documents and books that was written by the Theosophists that outline everything that they want to do and how they're going to utilize the UN to do it. And they put the documents out in the 90s so you can go and review and look and see how they've done this shit step by step by step by step by step. Okay? So, again, I just want us to be just a little bit more politically astute. So, I have been, we have been tapped to have a discussion with the good brother Cornel West when he comes into town. Because bar none, when I had to make my assessments and I had to look at the political landscape, and I sat with myself, I said, well, if you had to vote, good brother, right? If you had no choice, if you had no choice but to vote, you know what I'm saying? How would you go about making your assessment? And this is a conversation that I had with myself to arrive at my conclusion. And myself said to myself, well, I would have to look at the candidates' political interests and their agendas, and I would have to see which one coincides best with what I want for myself and my people. How do I envision us being able to win and level up and scale up best as a people? And when I review what Dr. West had and what he was saying and what he was offering, I felt that was the one that resonated a little bit better with my ideological preferences. Now, do I think that it's a long shot that he could win? Absolutely. But there was no longer shot ever than Donald Trump. So I do believe in, on some deist shit, yeah, I believe in miracles politically, because you just never know how shit ends up. And yeah, it's heavy Uranian energy. Anything can happen, the unexpected. Shit, why not? And not only that, I'm primed to stand on business to say, shit, it can happen just because we say it's going to happen. Why don't we challenge that? Why don't we test our real resolve? Why don't we see whose minds is really the strongest? Right? Why don't we really hack the matrix? You feel me? Why don't we really hack the matrix? So, people are feeling abused right now globally, and Donald Trump is being looked at as someone who can, bully the bullies. And I understand where that sentiment comes from. You know what I'm saying? And I definitely feel the pressure of, it feels like the country is slipping. You know what I'm saying? Admittingly, it feels like the country is definitely not only slipping, it feels like the country has slipped. Somebody said nobody is talking about Jesus. That's not true. That who's not talking about Jesus? Jesus is a mainstay conversation in this political race, based on the Christian nationalists. They're not talking about Jesus? They're saying that Trump is mandated by Jesus, and they are saying that they want to turn this country into a theocracy, and they have an agenda called Project 2025, written by the Heritage Society. I highly recommend that you go and read that. It's available online, It's called Project 2025. It details the first 100 days of a Trump presidency and how they're going to utilize that to turn this country into a theocracy. Are you serious? Who's not talking about Jesus? Who's not talking about Jesus? Right? Respectfully, those are red pill sentiments. He says RFK Jr. is trash because somebody asked what we thought about RFK Jr. Respectfully, I'm still looking at his platform and his program. I wouldn't necessarily say that he was trash. I would just say that I don't share the same ideologies. And again, it's going to come down to which one of these candidates is the least Zionist candidate. And it's going to get ugly. It's going to get sticky. But I'm willing to go all the way down the rabbit hole and see, how deep are they in the pockets of our brother, Dr. West. I want to see. I want to know. I'm going to ask direct questions. You feel me? So I'm going to be interviewing Dr. West when he comes. Guys, I'm going to comb my afro out. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to be streaming this on KTL Plus, our streaming network. You feel me? And I believe we're also working on a possible situation where it's going to be a town hall meeting and people can come in and ask questions of him as well and hear what his program and his platform is. If we in the melanated city, right, we in Atlanta, you feel me? We want him to come and talk to some of these melanated people. Yeah, he has a reparations platform that he's pushing. So I want to amass the FBAs that speak about tangibles and tethers. And no, they speak about the tangibles. I want to see, Oh, somebody said they hope you accept the truth of Jesus. All right. That's what's up. Like I said, I explained my position. I'm a deist. In that regards, I do not believe in the divinity of Jesus as an entity, and I've done my thorough research. The Pope has really been poping, and I've been really digging deep. Now, do I believe that there's a spiritual import? I believe that there's a spiritual vector that has been created in the name of an entity called Jesus, which has been fed enough blood that it is active and it operates in a way that is super effective on spiritual realms. I've done exorcisms before, and I've done hella motherfucking situations spiritually wise where I can tell you, yes, on spiritual planes, that there is power to an entity named that. I don't deny that at all. You feel me? I don't deny that. And specifically, when you're dealing with demonic entities and forces and you want to fuck them up and get them and push them back a little bit, right? So Jesus is a bootleg, Eshu, and Obatala. Okay, you could say that. You could say that. I would say that you should concur with people who really do ceremonial magic, if you will, ritual, and ask them that. Right? Ask them that. Ask them that. I didn't seen the shit. You need to ask them that. You need to. You don't need to, because majority of people is not built for that shit. You're not built for that shit. So we can do the idealism and the philosophical shit all you want, but you want to get behind the curtain and see what actually works and what moves some shit. The Western world has not prepared you for that. You have not seen no shit like that. You niggas is not cut for that. The majority is not. You feel me? So I never said that entity. You don't gotta be a god. You don't have to be the all being for you to have some motherfucking power, some clout in this universe and spiritual realms to get some work done. Right? Because these niggas is calling on mad lesser gods, and them niggas is out here fucking shit up. You know, on some spiritual shit. You know, they got spiritual gangbanging going on left and right out here. So let's not get confused. You know what I'm saying? Let's not get confused. And you can miss me with but there's only one God shit. And I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that these people don't believe that. And that's not how they operate. And I could prove it to you, nigga. Today's Saturday, okay? How can you gonna tell the people who's supposed to be theological that there's one God, and today's named after a god? The planet is named after a god, nigga. That's Saturn. Yesterday was named after a god, and that's Venus. Wednesday is named after a god. That's Odin. Thursday is named after God, and that's Thor. So you tell me Tuesday is named after God, and that's Aries. So you tell me this one God thing that you keep talking about, my nigga. And I'm not saying that I don't buy into it. I'm saying that they don't. And as a result, nigga, you don't either, because you adhere to that shit without pushing back. What is your one God name for Saturday? What is your one God name for Saturday? Because that's a whole fucking God out here. If you look it up, nigga, that was God before God. Before they came up with any of these fancy fucking names, nigga, the name of it was Saturn. Do some research. And stop coming to me with this modernistic shit. Let's get a little bit more primordial when we speaking about where did things derive from and the definition of things. Because you can't rewrite history. And they out here trying to rewrite history. Just like I told you, the Christian nationalists want to rewrite history as it applies to this Make America Great Again thing. Because America was never a Christian nation. It was never meant to be. It was founded by people who were fleeing Christian persecution by the church, and they came over here as deists, meaning that they had a lot more spirituality intact than they had religion, especially when they encountered the indigenous people of these lands. And Jesus didn't save their ass. Indigenous people did, okay? God and Yahweh didn't motherfucking provide them sustenance. The people who they said was heathens did. Right? They've never built anything to rival what was already over here in terms of architecture, which is the merger of the indigenous people understanding arts and sciences based on what? Their theosophical or their theological relationship with their creator, right? Who was giving them all of the sauce that they needed. They ain't come over here and marveled at. They came over here and robbed all that to fill the coffers up of what was going on in Europe because they was broke under their God, right? So what are we talking about? The Moors, when they came with their God, Allah, into Europe, that's what gave them culture. Nigga, it wasn't Jesus. You want to talk about it? But my time is running out, y'all. I appreciate this conversation. Again, this is just for us to become a little bit more politically astute so we can have valuable conversations with one another, bring value to one another when we have these conversations. I love you to life. Peace.